Hey everyone, thanks for joining in today to our first online session, taking a closer look at client-attended color sessions via live streaming. So welcome everyone. Let me start by introducing the panelists here. Leo Lovera and Oscar Martinez from Moving Forward Studios in Miami. And they're both really early adopters of Scratch. They both started with version 1 actually. As a matter of fact, Leo is probably our longest Scratch user ever because he used it before it even was called Scratch. If you want to know what Moving Forward Studios do, they do color, VFX, and finishing, and you can check them out on Instagram at Moving Forward Studios. Alright, let's take a quick look at today's content. We will start with Oscar giving you some basic facts and a basic understanding of live streaming and how it developed. This will be the theory part. And after that, we'll get practical. Leo will show you the turnkey way of using existing network infrastructure, as in streaming to YouTube. All you need is an Assimilate tool and a YouTube account. And after that, we'll look at a more sophisticated custom streaming server setup that Oscar has built for Moving Forward Studios. The first setup with streaming to YouTube, we will share the link to that stream in the chat, so you can watch it right away and make up your own opinion on this way. For the streaming through the custom streaming server, since this setup is really targeted at providing a low latency, high quality stream for very few users, which in most cases will be the reality of your client attended sessions. You won't be streaming to 1,000 people, I assume. We will share a split screen showing the Scratch UI and the stream here through Zoom. Alright, and we'll close the whole thing with a Q&A session where you can ask questions. And during the online session, I'll try to answer questions on the chat as good as I can. All right, I think we're ready to go. Oscar, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm Oscar from Moving Forward, as Matze says. And let me share the screen. 1 second. Okay, so I did also a PDF. This is the boring part. Matze says that it's interesting, but I don't know. So basically, how this came, when you look at the internet to streaming technology, there's tons of concepts, tons of companies that offer streaming. It's difficult to know what you are talking about and how to do it in Scratch. And that made us in the past to do a streaming server so we can deliver content to the clients that at the end, they don't have the time to come to the office, and they are revising and reviewing all what we do sometimes in laptops, TVs, phones, whatever. So we felt the necessity, the need to do something like that. So with today's internet speed, this is really easy, and we are out of problems, having problems with bandwidth that we used to have before. I'm not really an expert, but I am a problem solver, so that's why we did something like that. Scratch built the technology for streaming in 2017. We were using it with a hardware encoder from 2014. And what I'm talking now is about protocols. The protocols is basically how the machines communicate. It's a procedure, and it's a little bit technical, but we need to understand why today's days the streaming works as it works. So basically, that's the history. So I divided it in 3 parts, like the ancient, that I call it ancient. That, well, at the beginning, we were downloading videos through HTTP, that is a web page, a regular web page. And that's from the beginning, basically. And that's the way we had to stream, kind of. In 96, Microsoft Media Server appeared. That was basically for communication between two Windows machines for screen sharing and something like that. Not really streaming video like we use it today. In 98, RTSP appeared. So what happened with the RTSP? It's very important because all the IP cameras and all the security cameras, they use that. So still today, it's working and a lot of people uses it. And that's why it's there. And Adobe bought Macromedia and released the RTMP protocol for the Flash. Remember Flash? The Flash video streaming. Okay, so that's the protocol that today's day still Scratch is using, and a lot of people is using it to publish the stream, not to play it, because the thing is with Flash, it was a security issues, and it basically disappears, and also the infrastructure was too complicated. So when we go to the new, what is, we can say actual and getting old, but basically in 2008, Microsoft introduced the adaptive bitrate streaming. That means that you can have a player that changes the quality depending the bandwidth you have in the player in the end. So it's like streaming 3 different streams, but the client chooses which one you are using. YouTube is working like that. It's not working with smooth streaming. Well, we don't really know exactly that. And that was one of the things they introduced. And the key point was Apple, that in 2009, they introduced HLS. HLS is a very good quality streaming protocol that is the one that the iPhone uses and the one that a lot of devices uses. It has down points, but I'll explain that later. And for competing with HLS, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, they did MPEG-Dash. That is a standard that is open, so everybody can use it. But basically similar to HLS. So what's the thing with this? Those are proprietary. So that's the main problem of this technology until today, that every company does a different protocol. And if you have an iPhone, you cannot play RTMP directly because iPhone doesn't support it, or Dash. So you need to stick with HLS. And at the end, each device has a different protocol until MPEG-Dash, but it's not really implemented in all the devices, so it's not closed. And that's a problem. And that's a problem that makes difficult to build an infrastructure that works in all the devices. So what happened next? In 2011, Google opens WebRTC. WebRTC is very old, but it's a good technology. And it's basically what we are using now for Zoom to communicate in real time. It's a protocol that is open right now, and it's made for HTML5, and it's open, and every browser is, not every, but almost, they support WebRTC and the phones as well. So it's gonna be the next standard, but it's also a little bit difficult to implement in a big scale. So not everybody's ready for WebRTC. Microsoft bought a service called Beam, and they released something called Mixer that uses a faster than light protocol that is similar to WebRTC to use it for gamers. So you can stream from your Xbox directly with FTL. And the latest news is that we have delay in HLS. So Apple extended the live streaming to a different protocol, so we have less latency with HLS, the new one. And Leo, that's the one that YouTube uses now. And Leo is gonna show you where is that tab when he shows the live stream from YouTube. So basically, I'm gonna show you now the diagram. Nowadays, the streaming services increased a lot, so everybody's looking for a streaming service or a streaming solution so they can reach more people. Our case, thinking that we are Scratch users and post-production facilities or companies or DITs or something like that, it's a little bit different because we are not oriented to hundreds of people. We are more like a little sharing one stream to few people. So that makes a different workflow than the regular stream that you can find, for example, in YouTube. So basically from this diagram, the most important thing that I want to tell you now is the first row. It's similar what we do actually do in Scratch. We encode, we transcode, and we deliver. And we color and do VFX as well. And the thing with with encoding and the transcoding and the delivery, we do it if the client needs transcoding, for example. But in the world of the streaming, that is the device. The client is the device. So the device is asking for one kind of protocol or another. So you have two things: the format of the stream, that in our case, I'm going to explain it later, but it's H.264, and the device capabilities. So if the device is not H.264, you need to transcode it. Let's start with the encoding. And okay, so what we use to encode, we use the NVIDIA, because NVIDIA has hardware. It has a part of the NVIDIA that is dedicated only to encoding in H.264 or H.265. So that's why we use this H.264. There's another formats like BP8 or BP9 that they're cool, but the quality is good, but we don't use it for encoding. So that's why we are doing H.264, because we're using the NVENC encoder that is very powerful, and it doesn't use the rest of the resources of the GPU. So you can color and use all your GPU, and the streaming is something that is separated. So you can do it also by software, but it's really high demand in CPU, and you can use it from SDI with a box like external encoder. We used that in the past. But for us, the color accuracy, at least in a calibrated monitor, is important. So we saw differences in color when using hardware encoders that is not the NVIDIA one. So we stick with NVIDIA, and also Scratch has it directly, so you don't have to think about the encoding, but the configuration inside of Scratch. Transcoding. Okay, the transcoding, I explained it before, a little bit of this. You need to change the protocol if your client doesn't support H.264. If your client, meaning the technology, the protocol that is playing in the device at the end. So, for example, if you use a top box, that's MPEG-2. So you need to transcode it to MPEG-2 instead of H.264. So you have different formats. We are to H.264, and also depends the bandwidth. So if you have a player that doesn't support the bandwidth, the bitrate that you are sending, you need to lower the bandwidth. You can do that using a protocol that works in adaptive streaming, or you can stream several streams at the same time with different qualities. In Scratch, we're sending only one protocol, so that has to be made or in the server or in the CDN that I will talk later. And also, if you are using an open protocol and it's supported by the whole spectrum of devices, it's going to be easier, and you don't need to transcode nothing. Okay, the thing that is here that you see, the transcoding versus transmaxing, is basically the transmaxing. What does is you don't re-encode the stream. If you're sending H.264 and you are sending it, for example, in through RTMP, but the device, the end device, is HLS only, you only repacket all the stream with the other protocol, so you don't need to re-encode the stream. So it's like changing the metadata, more or less, for the streaming device at the end, and that can be done in real time, and there's almost no delay with that. So always you need to find a format that supports the majority of devices and the protocol that supports the majority of devices. Okay, so, and that happens for the audio and the video as well. Okay, the delivery. Okay, we have two options for deliver this stream: CDN based or media server based. Okay, what's a CDN? It's a content delivery network. It's a hardware network, or that is an internet that does all the job for you. So there's two levels. One is only CDN, what means that you need to implement the end part yourself, for example, Akamai or Amazon Web Services. So what they do is you publish your stream, and they change the protocols as you need, but you need a player in your web page or in an application you build, so you can use all what they are doing. And those systems are scalable, so you can have hundreds of clients or thousands. The other option in the CDN is to use a full service provider like YouTube, Facebook. Well, there's tons, and private companies that they offer those services. There's ton of them. If you look on internet, the list is tremendous. So the full service is they give you also a web page or an application, so it's totally transparent for you. So you publish in their system and you watch it in their system, and that's it. So it's transparent for the client and the publisher, and that's the one that Leo is going to show. What we did before all of this was like this today. We built our own server. So that's why I'm talking about the media server. The media server, it's customizable. So you can do whatever you want. You can have a web page, you can have an application, you can have directly software, for example, in Scratch. So you could transmit from scratch to scratch, stream from scratch to scratch. And there's two kinds of, it's the commercial and the open source. But basically, the media server is the same thing that a CDN, but it's not prepared to be scalable. So it's only for little audiences. And in fact, in the CDN, there's media servers inside, but they are structured by the way to do the things. So this, I can show you, well, that you can have a hybrid technology. So you can encode in Scratch, have the media server that streams in one protocol to a little public, and streams the same thing to a CDN, so you can reach more people. That's one option. Other option is to use all the CDN service. So you can encode in Scratch and use the CDN service for everything else. Transcoding if you need, or delivery directly if you don't need transcoding. So, well, the most important thing with the streaming is the relation between the latency and the quality. So all depends on the protocol and the quality you're sending, the bit rate, and the quality of the streaming is gonna add more delay or less delay depending the technology. So that's why we ended building our own service, and we are gonna show it right now. So, okay, what are the Scratch options? Yeah, now we are touching something more interesting. Okay, directly from Scratch, using RTMP, you can sign directly to YouTube, Twitch, Fiber Live or other, or a custom server or whatever. So it's ready. So now Leo is gonna show you how this works and how to stream it to YouTube. Thank you.
Hey everyone, can you see my screen? Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the direct streaming from scratch. So it's pretty straightforward. You just need to open Scratch, right? The only thing that you need to make sure is that you had to be inside the player to be able to activate the live stream. Once you are inside the live stream, pretty much anything that you do in Scratch, not the UI, but the output, you have to see this as this is another option as the output. So imagine you normally have a a client attending the session on your suite. So instead of having the client sitting in your couch, the client is sitting at home, and then basically you're running from either your suite or from home, like Oscar is doing right now, or like we have been doing for the past 4 weeks. So we have been running color sessions from Oscar home, having the clients at their own place, wherever that is, through the internet. So this is how you do it. So you are inside Scratch, you get into the player. Once you're inside the player, the way that you activate the built-in direct stream is that you go to the top menu on the tools. There you have a few options: the publish, remote session, live stream, and sync players. So we're going to be using the live stream. So go to the live stream, and that's your menu with all the options. So you have 3 different tabs there on how to set it up. Oscar went over the whole set of different options that you have for CDN media servers. Like he said, you can build your own custom media server. You can use standard consumer like YouTube. So that's the one that we're going to show how to set it up. So we have the custom Facebook, YouTube, local HLS, so you can connect with you can output directly to a file. So I'm going to go to the YouTube. Once you have the media menu where you can decide where you want to use the GPU in case you have an NVIDIA card. If you don't have an NVIDIA card, then you can still do the streaming. Say, for example, you're on a Mac, you can do CPU streaming. It's probably not going to be as fast and as efficient as with the GPU, but you're still able to do it. So we're going to use the NVIDIA, of course, encoding. Then you have different presets for the quality of the video, frame rate, the variable bit rate and stuff like that. Then the kind of compression, resolution. You can also have a description of the streaming that you're doing. That depending on the service that you use, then that's going to be on the output or not. So I'm going to go to I'm going to select the YouTube option. So I'm going to go to my YouTube page. So it's pretty straightforward. You go to on YouTube, you go to the YouTube studio where you can create a stream. So click on it, go live. So once I go live, I'm going to dismiss that. So I'm going to say you can title the live stream from scratch. You can make it public or private or unlisted. I'm going to create a stream. So once you create that stream on the YouTube studio, then that's going to provide you with a stream key. That's what you need to enter into the Scratch menu to be able to connect the YouTube with the stream from Scratch. I'm going to copy the stream. And then I'm going to go to Scratch, live stream YouTube, and I'm going to enter that key into Scratch. So once you do that, you can connect. Then you see you get the message that is streaming already. I'm going to share with everybody on the chat the stream here, chat. Okay, so I hope everybody can access that. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I missed something here. Yeah, I had to. Well, on the YouTube side, you have different options for the, the delay, the latency of the stream. So I'm going to switch to the ultra low latency. Okay, so it's the same key. So now you should be able to see that better. Okay, so it's streaming now, right?
Yes, now it's streaming.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I don't do this every day. Okay, so one thing that you might be asking is that how do you interact with the client? So you have the live stream, and then you have the client on the other end. You obviously yeah, ideally you need to be connected with maybe with a Skype call or a phone call, or something that you get direct input from the client. But also you may want to show on the screen more relevant information to what you're actually showing. So for example, if you have a timeline that is you want to tell the client knows what if it's a TV commercial, what version are you working on, or you want the client to take a screenshot with the frame, with the information of the frame you are on, that kind of stuff. So for that, for example, you can use there's an old feature in Scratch that you can apply effects to the output. So if you go to the monitor here, I can go to the effects, and I have a preset for a burn-in where I have metadata added to the output of my screen. So if I select, for example, here the output here, that's burn-in information. So you can see the frame I'm working on, and any like the date. If, for example, you have different versions, say that you're working on different versions of a shot, then you can see here how that changes depending on the version you're working on.
I only see the monitor interface.
You have to see that on the YouTube feed, Oscar. So once you have that enabled on the output, then you can see it on the live stream. So pretty much it's just like having like I said before, like having the client connect, sitting in your room. This is the client connected in their own living room with the computer, just looking at your live stream. So that's one thing that you can use in to interact with the client. So say, for example, there's something specific about a frame. So there's another new feature in Scratch, which is the annotation tools. So with the annotations, I can, for example, enable the little pen here. So I can draw something on the screen, and then that is also a display on the feed where you do the live stream. So that's another. Oh, let me see here. I don't have it. Oh, I have disable overlay. So you have to have enable overlay, obviously, on the dual head. So going back to my same point, this is the same as having the output, the regular output that you have on the monitor. So once you have the options enabled on the SDI, for example, here the overlay, so that is also taken into account when you do the annotations. So you can disable it here, and then it's disabled on the output. And that's pretty much it. This is how you can set it up in Scratch, built-in, without having to create your own custom media server. Then back to Oscar.
Now we are showing a live session like we do most of the time. So Matze is gonna be the client, and you're gonna watch one split screen that, because my system is not supported to so many people. So you wanna watch my screen and the streaming that Matze is gonna show it to you split screen. So let me know, Matze, when it's ready.
All right, screen share works. Am I on the correct web page?
Okay, well, the web page is not, I'm not streaming yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick info for the devoted viewer here. What we're doing is showing you the basically the Scratch UI and the live stream at the same time. The way we achieve that is with Oscar sharing his screen by a TeamViewer, which you can see on the right here. And on the left, I have a browser open. to watch that live stream, and I'm sharing my screen in Zoom. So it's a pretty complicated setup. But what we hope to see is a delay comparison and simply have it side by side. Also consider that both the TeamViewer feed and the live stream onto the server, that both comes from Miami. I'm sitting in Holland and I'm streaming it back to wherever you guys are. All right, Oscar, go ahead.
Okay, let me connect the stream. No, I'm connected. Sorry. I'm connected to my own server. So now Matze can show you the split screen. But basically, now that we are watching this, are you ready with the split screen, Matze?
Yes, it's all set up. I see your UI and I also see the live stream.
Okay, perfect. Okay, what happened with this system is that it has less than 1 second of delay, between 1 second and 112 frames. So what we do with the clients is something like what we are doing now. I show them this little chart. So you cannot rely on them on the monitor of the client, but they look at the same monitor always. So at the end, they know what they want, more or less, but you need to assure a minimum of contrast in this case. So this is one of the tests I sent to them. So you need to see the 3 circles, the black ones and the 3 white ones. If you are not watching the 3 ones, like when you're watching it through TeamViewer, that means that you have not enough quality of contrast in your monitor. There's also bands, the diagonal bands in the center of the square, that it's important to see them as well, to tweak it a little bit. And I do several tests also to know, no, it's not to know, it's to see more or less where they are in terms of contrast and saturation. So now I'm showing, this is a short movie we are doing. And basically this is the test of the live session. So Matze is gonna say me what to do. So I'm playing it, and tell me, Matze, when you want me to stop and to review something.
All right. So, I'm not sure if you guys saw that before. On my screen here, the details, the circles on the test chart, they were not as distinctive on the TeamViewer screen share than they were on the live stream. At least I could see a clear difference here on those.
Let me go back.
Oh yes, quickly go back. Right, have a quick look. If you see that here on the right, I don't see the middle circle basically. And here on the live stream, oops, I actually do. And there's more actually. Maybe I can, I know that will probably mess it up. But there's also diagonal, super dark black lines in the middle, and the black patch in the middle. And I guess that's some good practice, just to make sure that your client, at least to a certain extent, sees what you're seeing in terms of contrast and maybe even color.
Yeah, and there's another question that I used to do is, you see all the gray lines gray, or there's some gray line that has a different color, something like that.
Right.
Okay, so let's go to the live session. Okay.
All right. I'm the worst client you ever had.
Well, let's see.
All right. Can you maybe make the overall tone of the image a little bit warmer? It seems very cold and rainy, and I would like to, just give it a slightly warmer mood.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, this is slightly changed. So I'm gonna change to V2. That was the one that I had before. Right. So this is one use of the burning that automatically shows you which version you add. That is the position in the slot. So it's really cool because you can show the differences, and if you have some kind of delay or the difference is minimal, the client can actually know which version they like without writing nothing. Or in the past, we used to do it with warning codes, and it was a pain because you need to have or even a setup. Like I have trays here. Let me go. I have this tray that it has the same kind of numbers, but you need to drop it in a layer every time. So basically, now this is automatic thanks to the great team that Assimilate has, and it's really useful when you have some kind of delay or the difference is very minimal.
Yeah, what we could do maybe is if you disable the grade and you disable it, you hit the key so that we can hear it, and then we could.
Okay. Well, I don't know how this is gonna work, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that was pretty close. So it's somewhere around a second, the delay.
Yeah, is what I say. The system is between 17 and 1 second 12 frames. That has to be, well, it can be tweaked a little bit, but it's still it's pretty good. You know, I was working with 30 seconds of delay, and that is a pain to work remotely. It's very difficult and very slow. So yeah, basically. This is it, and in terms of color, you can do it's like a regular session, you know. So as long the interactivity is fast enough, it's easy to work, and it's easy to show to the client like in the room. It's something like that. And also it's something that Scratch has. Well, this is what we use it for, but there's tons of uses, and I'm sure Matze is gonna tell you something about that. Do you want me, Matze, to change something else, or you are happy with this?
Can you?
Yes, yes.
Please add some contrast there, just slightly.
Okay.
Make it a little bit more dramatic. It's a church after all. We're talking about God here. Just to elaborate a little bit on the burn-in plugin, because I've seen some questions popping up there. How do you get the burn-in in there? I hope I can show something during the Q&A, which.
Yeah, well, if you want, as long as you have my screen shared, I can go back to the where you configure that.
I think probably people are more interested in seeing how the burn-in is set up than me trying to be a good client. So.
Okay, so let's do that. Well, basically, you do a burning. Okay, so let's do one.
To give you the rough ins and outs, what Oscar is going to do is he's going to add the burn-in as a plugin onto a shot in order to create a template for that burn-in. So here we have the layer with the burn-in, and he now types in live session, and in Scratch you can use all sorts of hash codes to use metadata, like displaying clip notes, or displaying the source file name, or displaying the time code, or the audio file name, scene, take, what have you. Everything you see in that list there, including specific camera metadata. So if you have a clip that ships with, I don't know, the focal length, for every RAW we even support that on a frame-based level. You can put all that into the burn-in, and once that's set up, yeah, go ahead. Just add anything.
Yeah, I added the time code. Okay,
Right.
so you save it as a PLS.
So again, we're creating that template, and the next thing we're going to do is remove that plugin from the shot again, because it was really just there to create the template in the first place. And the next thing is we're going to exit Scratch. This will likely make the live stream, not exit Scratch, exit the project. This will probably interrupt the live stream, but so be it. And then you go to System Settings, to the Custom Commands tab there, and you will create a new custom command, like such, and give it a name. Set its type to plugin, select the burn-in plugin, and specify the template we just created. And with custom commands, you can place them anywhere throughout Scratch. Thanks, Park. Good point. And so you can also place them as an optional plugin that only works on the SDI or dual head output, which is why you enable this setting there, use on dual head. And now if we go back into the project and maybe start the live stream again.
Okay, let me do that. Oh, no, I'm streaming.
Okay,
I didn't
very
disconnect.
well. Let me see. Because you can switch timelines without the stream getting interrupted, right? And
Yes.
now you can see here on the very far right, here we have our drop down, which basically holds all the custom commands that we enabled the use on dual head option for. And so there's also our burn-in for the webinar. And once we select that, let me go back. It also shows up here on the live stream.
And there's, for example, the other one that I have that is called Quick Look. For example, what you see of the images property of Underdog Studios, that's a note actually in the construct. So you can show the notes of each shot with the metadata of Scratch when you do the burning. So you can add notes for revision or whatever you want and place it wherever you want. So it's a cool thing as well that we use it a lot.
Full screen on the stream. Let's see that. I think you still have the plugin on the. Oh no, you don't. Okay. I'm really the most terrible client.
You want to change something, or we are showing something else?
No, I don't. And I think we can move over to the Q&A.
All right, so let me stop streaming.
Oh, wait a second. There's a question which we might be able to answer right here. Can you explain again how the client is supposed to set their screen when adjusting based on the black and white chart?
Oh, well, yes. Let me start streaming again. Okay, this is something. Basically, what I'm showing is a full range picture with black and white, and this is 0, and this is 1. Well, if you are in floating, if you are in 10-bit, and 1023. So basically, what you're watching is if you have some kind of clipping or the contrast that the monitor is not supported, that the client's monitor is not correct, they don't see the highlights or the shadows. So when you are in those zones, it's difficult to have a monitor that it's calibrated, not calibrated, that has enough quality at least to show that. I have two monitors here, and when I work, I have two calibration LUTs for each one. So the one that I'm not watching now, the one where I have the UI, it doesn't have good quality, so I don't see the white points if I don't have it without the LUT. And that's what happens sometimes with the client, that maybe the brightness is too much, and the client doesn't see the circles. And what I do is, if they don't see the circles, I tweak a little bit in the output, so I go a little bit less light until they see the circle. So that's only so they can see something, and they don't ask you, oh, the highlights are too blown out. And after that, in the moment I had to deliver a quick time to the final review or the final thing, I removed the layer, and I'm sure that we have something that we are showing. This is not perfect. The ideal scenario is that the clients have a very powerful screen calibrated, but that doesn't happen. And there's some tests of this that you can do to know more or less if they see too much saturation or if the hue is not exactly what you want, showing skins, you can show skins and ask them, this skin is, what tone has this skin? Also, you can find colorblind people as well. So it's something, I don't know if I answered the question.
Well, let me quickly switch. Can you put it on again real quick?
Yes.
So I don't know how you guys look at this, but I see one big white blob here, and I do see the smaller circle in here. However, if I look at the live stream, I can actually see 3 shades of black and also 3 shades of white. I can actually see it a little bit better here on my monitor than through the Zoom screen share, but I hope you guys are seeing the same.
There is another trick that you can do with clients, that is you set this in 0% saturation. Well, it's actually 0% saturation, but the thing is, this is a trick I use to tell the clients that if they see color in the grays, that's because the calibration is not, or that they don't have it calibrated. So if the colors are too off, you can work with that screen. You know, if you see colors in the whites or the grays and they are not the same gradient, is because you need to tweak your calibration. And the client doesn't calibrate nothing, so the only thing it helps is to know where they are and if they have kind of a dominant in some tones. So you have that in mind, that they are happy because your monitor is calibrated, but the client's not. So if you see those kind of differences when you talk with the client before the session starts, you know that he has, for example, a magenta tint in the midtones. So you have to keep that in mind on the session, because that's the opposite that you are doing. You know, it's something that is at least something that I found to work remotely in a way that I can deliver at the end something that they are happy with without coming to the room. That is what we prefer to do them to do. But yeah, what else?
There's a question in the chat saying asking what system or software is the custom RTMP server built on.
Well, I can show you right now in real time how to build one custom server. It's not exactly the one that we have, but it's, I will add also the links. When we send the documentation of the webinar, we add the links so you can take a look better. But if you want to do a custom server, let me do it in a second. So I'm gonna stop streaming and you can show only my screen. So basically you need something called Docker. I'm showing the Nginx that is open source. This one that is not, but there's one that is open source. Basically that's an RTMP server that it also can work in HLS and Dash. So basically you install Docker. After you install Docker, okay, you need to get the Docker is a virtualization machine thing that what does is it runs like little computers inside your computer. So this is Linux, the server, the Nginx is Linux based. You can have it in Mac, and you if you don't want to use Docker, you can use Nginx with the RTMP module as well. So basically what I did is I downloaded a Docker image with the server already installed, so I don't have to do nothing else. So what I do is I start the server. I have it ready here. So basically it's with Docker, you run, this is the port you're using, and you run this server. Okay, it started. So basically, let me tell you, this is the IP, the local IP of this system of Docker that is using. So I'm not publishing this on internet. So I'm gonna show you, I already created the server and I'm gonna show you how to connect from scratch. That is the same thing we're using. So basically, this one, okay, let's go back to scratch. So I'm using this IP. So you put the port that you are using, live, and the channel. The channel, I'm gonna call it Matze.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, and this is open. So there's no username or password. So you connect, and now I'm connected to the server that I created locally. Here we go. Okay, now I'm streaming in that server. So in order to show it to you, I'm gonna open a VLC, and from here, I'm gonna add a streaming media, open network stream. Here we go. You put the address. This is the channel that is called Matze, and you play it. And when it connects, you see that the same thing. So I already set it up and I'm streaming it locally. If you, instead to publish this local, you publish it in a web page, you're gonna be having this thing or in an application. So look into internet with the Nginx RTMP module, and you'll have a basic version of this, and you can look into a lot of information. So that was creating a server like in live. Okay.
Right. You have to keep in mind that this local setup, you have probably to take some more measures to make that IP available on the internet, do port virtualization and things like that.
Yeah, and routing, you know, you need to deal with routers, IP forwarding ports, and those things that are pretty technical, and web applications in JavaScript, players, and those things. So, but if you feel comfortable with that, with Nginx, you can do it, or you can do it directly with VLC and Nginx or Scratch. Like Scratch has now something that we didn't show, that it has a player of you with Scratch Pro, you can play the stream directly inside Scratch. So basically, if you give to the client the channel, and they configure the same thing I configure here, but in the player, they will be able to watch if you are streaming it through your network, your proxy, your firewall, and everything. So that's one option of streaming directly to the clients and with nobody else in the stream.
Oscar, two quick questions. One from Brandon: is WebRTC possible?
Aha, yes. Well, WebRTC is possible, but you know, WebRTC was think at the beginning to share your camera from the computer. So WebRTC is a good option because it's the future. And the problem is the implementation of WebRTC. With Nginx, you cannot do that. And the implementation of WebRTC, it has some kind of issues especially when you need to scale it. So, for example, big players like WOSA, they will have not a WebRTC ready stream until next year. And at the end, we are streaming it through RTMP, that is the published stream, that is Scratch, who is encoding. And you need to demux that to WebRTC as well. So you need kind of a server, and with Nginx, you cannot do it. The thing is, you can modify a little bit, but there's work to do on that. You can buy the commercial version that they already do a lot of things. Or if you want to use the non-commercial, you can, if you know how to do it, you can change a little bit how it works with HLS protocol to extend it to the low latency one. So it's not going to be a web TRC, but the performance is going to be at least the same you have with YouTube.
Okay, question from Park. You could run this Docker RTMP server on AWS. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was short. And Chico's asking, could you show an example of streaming with HLS?
Well, basically, this stream, for that, I need to configure the Nginx server. So it's not, because this one that I installed, it's already configured in RTMP. So you need to look into the Nginx module, and basically inside there's a text file. Let me go to this web page. That is the one that I use to download the Docker image. So if you go here, this is how you configure Nginx. So basically, it's a text file that you configure it. So this is the RTMP, and if you want to do a server, HLS is basically the same thing, but you put HLS on it and you configure this for HLS. You need to look into the Nginx with RTMP module configuration that is in this GitHub page, and there's a community, and you can try to learn, and they talk you all about HLS, MPEG dash, and stuff. So that's more advanced, but it's a way to start with.
All right. I'm trying to sort through the chat. It's fairly crowded. And we're already over time. We still have 160 people listening. That's amazing.
That's cool.
You guys are
Thank
persistent.
you for listening. I was very afraid to do this.
There's a question that whether you can put a lot on the live stream only.
Sure. Not only, it's the dual head. Basically, if you have it in the dual head, no, in the dual head.
Right. So let me elaborate a little bit on this. Right now, what's happening in Scratch is that the settings for your dual head or your SDI output and the settings for live streaming are fairly close tied together. So that's why, for example, you have to set the effect for the burn-in for your dual head or for your preview screen, so to speak. And that is also applied to the live stream. It's basically, you would probably apply this effect to your dual head if your client was sitting next to you on the client couch in your grading suite. Difference being that now he's sitting on his own couch at home. So that's basically why these settings are tied together so closely. And whatever effect, whatever display LUT you might load onto your preview screen output here, just like Oscar did here on the dual head, that's also what will be applied to your live stream as of now. What upload speed do you need? Maybe that takes us back a little bit to the live streaming settings for bitrate and such.
The upload, well, for HD with 3 megs second, you're okay. You know, that's what Leo was showing. So if you are in HD, in full HD, okay, at least you need 3, 4. Scratch has settings for it. So you have high quality, that this is insane, medium quality, low quality, and custom. Okay, what says low quality is good for 720p, and well, 720p is more like 2 megs. In full HD is between 3 and 4 megabytes. You don't need a lot of bandwidth to publish. If you are trying to do 8K or something like that, well, the difference, you will notice it, especially when you play it. If depends the protocol. Also, there's, for example, here something called B frames. Those are intermediate frames that are used to increase quality between gaps in the compression, but it's set to 0 because it's low latency. If you have B frames, the latency gets increased. So that's why this is configurable in Scratch and it's set to 0. This is regular configuration of encoding in H.264. You can have variable bitrate or constant bitrate, and the kind of the settings of the compression that Scratch has, but yeah, that's it.
Right. I think the main three settings there are really the bit rate
Yes.
and the resolution.
Yes.
I think in most cases HD will be fine, but you can go higher if you need to. But obviously
Yes.
that requires more bandwidth on both ends.
On both ends, yes.
All right. Then I think we are pretty much at the end. If you have more questions, feel free to send them to us, and we'll either answer directly or pull Oscar and Leo in to elaborate on that. All right, here's the cherry on top announcement at the end of the online session. We're currently working on adding live streaming capabilities to Live Assist, our video assist onset tool. And I'm going to show you this real quick by starting it up here to Live Assist. So here in Live Assist, I have two channels, my A cam and my B cam. Right now, I don't have two cameras connected to the system, so I'm using just two files underneath to emulate that. But back in here, I have my two cameras, the A cam and the B cam, and I can switch back and forth, right? And up here in the tools menu, I have the live streaming option. And again, I can choose YouTube here. I can choose whether I want to stream the active channel, so the A cam in this case, or whether I want to stream a video wall. Video wall looks like this. Basically a video wall that shows both cameras, and I can even configure the way the video wall should look. So I go setup, settings. I can tell it whether it should have a thin border or a medium border, thick border, no border. The border basically represents which camera is active right now. So I'm grading the A cam right now, so that's the one with the green border. If I hit F2 on my keyboard to select the B cam, now the B cam is active and I can grade the B cam. So live streaming, multicam live streaming is coming to Live Assist as well fairly soon. All right, everyone. Then I think we can stop here. If you want to try the whole live streaming yourself, get yourself a YouTube account and get yourself a Scratch. It's free up until end of October right now. You can get any of our software for free during the crisis and longer, probably. So everyone, thanks for joining. It was great to have you here. I hope this was informative, and we will probably see each other again in about 2 weeks when we're doing a live online session with Scratch for dailies. Guys, see you.